When the Radio Silence team decided to make Scream 5 about toxic fandom, I don't think even they could have predicted that some of the most toxic people, ironically, would end up being the ones that enjoyed their movies. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
As I was preparing to make this video, I came across an article in the New York Times of all places, where now former movie critic A.O. Scott conducted an exit interview after deciding to no longer review films after 2 decades of doing so. In the article, he spoke about how he is not a fan of modern fandom, and how interactions with certain fandoms was at least partially responsible for his early retirement. He says, quote, "I'm not a fan of modern fandom. This isn't only because I've been swarmed on Twitter by angry devotees of Marvel or DC or other franchises." The article speaks about how these social media hordes represent an anti-intellectual mindset that is harmful to the cause of art and antithetical to the spirit of movies. It also talks about how fan culture is rooted in conformity, obedience, group identity, and mob behavior. Now, to be clear, I don't think the response to this type of behavior is to quit. I think you should double down and continue to speak your truth. And everyone knows I'm no apologist for a professional critic, but I firmly believe that these toxic responses to certain criticisms is a big reason why we can't seem to get any kind of honest reactions anymore. And I can speak from experience on this.
That makes sense.
During my time on YouTube, I've encountered a lot of toxic people, whether it be from the Chucky fandom or the MCU fandom or somewhere in between. But absolutely nothing could prepare me for what I experienced over the past couple of weeks with the Scream fandom. More specifically, the Scream 5 and 6 fandom.
How can fandom be toxic?
It's gotten so bad over the past couple of weeks that even some of your favorite YouTubers who are singing the praises of Scream 5's message are now being attacked and called not real Scream fans by a group of people who consistently show their lack of respect for Wes Craven, Neve Campbell, and the Scream franchise as a whole. You see, it's all good and they love you, until you say one thing that they don't agree with, and then all of a sudden you're the enemy.
My, how the tables have turned.
For me personally, I just have no desire to tiptoe around the truth, or to hold back my true feelings about something just so I don't upset some soft people on the internet. And because I'm so passionate about what I do, and I'm very direct with my opinions, I think that rubs some people the wrong way. Because of my Scream 6 review, I've been verbally attacked, threatened, and harassed over the past week on YouTube and on social media, all by people who like this movie.
It's about love.
And I asked the question, where are all the news articles and all the YouTube videos calling out toxic fandom as it pertains to these type of people? Well, there aren't any because it doesn't fit the narrative. You see, it's easy to call someone who is being rightfully critical toxic because that's a good way to deflect valid criticism. But when it comes to psychotic fans who want to bully people into thinking the way that they think, that's okay, I guess. It's all bullshit, and it's created an environment where people are afraid to be an individual for fear of facing ridicule.
Man, I'm tired of being right.
It is very much the groupthink mentality. Do you know how many people told me this week that a majority of people like this movie, so everything that I say doesn't matter? Basically trying to very directly discredit my opinion. Do you know how many people told me this week, well, this movie made more money than any other Scream movie before it? So again, everything I say doesn't really matter. As if box office has ever been a good indication of a film's quality. This is the way that people think now, or should I say choose not to think.
What an idiot! Oh, what a loser!
You see, it's all about conforming now, not asking questions. It's all about obedience rather than challenging the status quo. And yes, most certainly it is all about group identity. And people being so insecure to the point that a movie or its characters define them. And if anyone dare question the quality of that movie or those characters, these people see that as a personal attack on them.
S-O-F capital T. Soft. Huh?
And this leads to them trying to discredit or devalue the person who doesn't say what they want to hear. Here's a good example. I made a post about my channel doing very well after my Scream 6 review. I was basically just celebrating all my hard work and dedication starting to pay off. I didn't tag anybody, I didn't make any kind of shot at anybody who enjoyed the movie, yet somehow people responded to this post, telling me that my channel is a failure and that I should quit YouTube immediately.
Me, right?
All because I wasn't brainwashed into liking a movie in the same way that they were. Now, to be clear, I'm not sure how many of these accounts are actually real people. A lot of them are nameless, faceless attacks that really don't hold much weight with me. And to be fair, there were some people who approached me respectfully to tell me they disagree, and I responded to those people with the same level of respect. But some of you really need to re-examine your life. If you take someone's opinion on something that you have nothing to do with this seriously and react in this way, then I'm sorry, you might need to reassess things, because that is some weak-minded shit.
Stop being a come on.
I also had people calling my credibility into question, saying, well, you went into this movie wanting to hate it. Let me be very clear about this. I, as well as a lot of other people, don't typically go to a movie wanting to hate it. That would be an incredible waste of time and resources. Now, were there precedences set prior to this movie's release that made some people less optimistic about it? Sure, but that's the studio's fault.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Because it's their job to convince me to be excited about their film. I don't have an obligation as a fan to give them the benefit of the doubt and just assume that everything they do is going to be perfect. This is what I knew going into Scream 6 that made me question things. First and foremost, the treatment of Neve Campbell behind the scenes and how that was seemingly swept under the rug. It was written off as not a big deal, and as a result, some of the fans who like these movies are now saying that Neve Campbell doesn't matter.
Why are you the way that you are?
I really don't care if you think her story is over or not. That's not the discussion. If you're going to sit there and tell me that you think Neve Campbell isn't important to Scream, that is a massive, massive red flag to me. And it says a lot about your fandom. And I have to question your intentions if you're mad at me for bringing it up. Also, the marketing for this movie pulled out pretty much every gimmick you could think of, all in an effort to try to distract people from what was actually going on. They promoted this movie by saying this Scream is different, by saying this Ghostface is better, by saying this Scream is more violent, by saying this Scream is in New York, by saying this Ghostface has a shotgun, and even using Roman numerals in the title, which hasn't been done before, to differentiate it from what came before. Desperately trying to convince people that this was going to be a different experience for them.
So I strongly suggest that you wake the up.
If you remember from my very first trailer reaction, I said very clearly that this felt like a series of gimmicks to distract people from the fact that they've run out of ideas. But all of these things were already getting imprinted on people's minds. And so a lot of them bought into this new direction for Scream. So when someone comes along and questions that or challenges that, the programming takes over and suddenly that person is the enemy to the mob. Basically, think like us, accept this programming, or else.
I'm having trouble.
And before anyone says it, I'm not saying that everyone who likes this movie has been programmed to like it. I'm specifically talking about these people who feel the need to attack anytime someone doesn't agree with them. The bottom line is that I'm a fan of Scream, and I very much want to love Scream. But as a critic, I'd be doing this franchise a disservice if I wasn't honest with myself and all of you about the quality of this film. What is the point of me having a YouTube channel if I'm just going to say everything exactly how everyone else says it? If I'm just going to toe the line and kiss Hollywood's ass? I want better movies, and I'm tired of feeling like I'm wasting my time when I go to watch new movies. I say this all the time, but you get better by demanding better. And if this movie isn't up to my standards, then I have the right to demand better. And if that puts me in the minority in this situation, then so be it. But I will not compromise who I am and what I believe, because some trolls on the internet can't handle a difference of opinion.
I knew it. I'm surrounded by assholes.
Because the real toxic fandom are the ones that have to lash out every time you don't heap unconditional praise on something. I'm predicting it right now, similar to some other movies that have come out recently that had a lot of this manufactured hype around them. I think Scream 6 will diminish in quality for a lot of people the more they watch it, and the quicker they take off the fan goggles. And it will ultimately be a forgotten entry in the franchise, because to me it plays out more like a soulless cash grab than a legacy sequel that is meant to honor the past and build for the future. And I am entitled to that opinion, and so is everyone else who agrees with it. And believe you me, there are a lot of people who agree with it, even if they're not being vocal about it. It is not toxic to point out valid criticism. It is toxic to attack people who don't subscribe to your groupthink mentality.
Y'all be cool. Right on.